So on the Altima, our plan is basically to go to build a larger MAF pipe. Now I've got to talk to the customer. There's a couple things that I want to go over. So if we're building a new pipe, I'd like to move the MAF further down. We don't want it too close to bins. Like post MAF isn't so bad, but it's better to bring it forward a little bit more. If you look at the factory design puts the MAF probably somewhere over here in this area, and they moved it back this way for whatever reason. So if we can bring the MAF like further back here to get it away from bins and turbulence, that would be better. The next thing would be to get rid of a lot of these coupler connections. So he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And these couplers look really junky, to be honest with you. So we could really reduce the amount of couplers to maybe 2 at best, maybe 3. And another thing too is that this material that he has here is like that cheapo aluminized piping, and this doesn't work out. This never works out that well. Okay, so what I proposed to him was just to build a full 3-inch intake, maybe up to right here, just because passing it through right here for 3-inch is difficult, and then just redoing this section right here into one singular piece just to get rid of couplers. That's one. Ideally, running a full 3-inch pipe probably would be better, but it's probably going to exceed his horsepower goals. Now the thing is that with blow valves as well, on a blow through setup where air is blowing into it, if you have a blow valve somewhere on this side where the MAF is here, the car will start to stall. So we've got the blow valve can basically stay in this area. It just needs to be in front of the MAF. Ideally, it's better to move the blow valve to this area over here just to keep it well away from the MAF, especially if we're going to relocate it. All right, now the next thing is that this piece right here, this is not a check valve or anything like that. So from factory design, this is designed to only pull air. It will never see, it's again from factory design, it's never designed to see boosted pressure. So if you start making boost through here, it's going to leak into the valve cover, and then that's no bueno, right? So if we're able to build a whole new pipe, we can omit this altogether, and we can put a breather on here, or if you really wanted to, we could actually make a hose that goes into the actual intake over here, and then that would have the same effect. So now at this point, it's really down to the customer on what he wants to do, but that's the ideal proposed way to do it, which like I said would be just to basically build as much as we could in 3-inch and then reduce as much connections as we can. Now there is an alternative. That alternative is only building this section right here. So from here to basically here would be 3-inch, and same deal, we would move the MAF just a hair further down, but this would be all one singular 3-inch piece, and that would be okay too. The only downside with that, I think, is going to be the placement of the MAF and the blow valve in relation to each other on how close they are. Again, I don't think that's a huge deal, but we could also we could basically cut this metal right here and then shift it further down to give us more spacing here. So again, at this point, we're just waiting on the customer to figure out what he wants to do. The good thing is that I do have the MAF flange in stock. We keep those, we used to keep those on hand before we started doing a ton of standalone stuff, but we do have this flange on hand here, and I think a vast majority of the piping we also have here. All right, so we've got the intercooler partially removed. So the throttle body measures 2 3/4. This actually is already a 3-inch, but I think it's just, like I said, the overall reduction in size over here that's causing it. So we're gonna go 2 3/4 here to a 45 3-inch adapter coupler, and then that should bring that out here, and then we can make a strip here. So this measures 2.5 though. So the rest of the piping is 2.5 all the way through, all the way up to the intercooler here that I just loosened to check. So what we're going to do is we're basically going to cut it off right here, I think, and then make a conversion to bring this up. Then the blow valve, we'll basically move it to a different flange somewhere else, and then that hopefully should get everything all situated. All right, so we got the charge pipe here for the Altima back together. So move the blow valve down further to where the bumper's at, and then obviously we have a complete 3-inch pipe, and this section had to stay small because of the headlight. So MAF flange is welded on, and then so now we've got beaded, rolled the ends so they're beaded now. So we've got the charge pipe done here. We're gonna go ahead and install this and then get it started. Now, if everything goes well, like it's supposed to, then the car should naturally run leaner than it did before. So go ahead and pull this guy out here, and then we're gonna start moving all the clamps over, and then looks like we're gonna have to get a longer vacuum line because we moved the blow-off valve to a different position to get it further away from everything. So I'm gonna go ahead and slap this all together real quick here and then get this thing fired up. I pulled the hardware out for the MAF, and they use self-tapping screws for whatever reason. Whatever. And they're also missing the O-ring for the MAF, so they just threw some RTV on it. Or no, the O-ring's in here. Oh, but it does have RTV on it, so great. So here's the downpipe that Jeremiah pulled off here. So you can see that it's definitely a work of art, maybe even a Banksy, but it's leaking a lot of places. And even on the inside, I mean, that is amazing. All right, man, do your thing. Hopefully you can clean that up. Alrighty, downpipe is done. Got the second O2 bung for his wideband, and then we connected to that bottom flange down there. So now all we got to do left is the actual dump, and then that's good to go there. Also, I do want to mention that after I got it started to move it out of the way a little bit so we can get to the WRX truck, the car actually did start to run leaner. After the cold start, during the cold start it ran okay, but after the cold start got done, it did run a little bit rougher, which is what we were actually anticipating and hoping for. Another thing that we've been dealing with on the Altima is that it has an oil leak from somewhere, and we couldn't really figure out where it's at, but it looks like the oil drain pan itself is leaking. So that's something that's gonna have to get taken care of eventually. It may not be something that we do, maybe the owner will do it, but I'll let them know at least we found what it is. So we got the new AEM wideband for the Altima here. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to wire it up at the moment. Them hands. But what I want to do is be able to get the sensor put in. That way we can block off the hole for the exhaust manifold. That way we can get the car started without a massive exhaust leak. So what's cool about the new AEMs is that they use an FAE sensor, right? But they're also backwards compatible with the LSU 4.9s. So that makes it a little bit easier. The FAEs supposedly are like the new bee's knees, but I haven't installed enough of them to really say one way or another. But that is definitely there. So we've got the dump tube done. We need to wrap it some way though, because it is extremely tight to a lot of different things. But it's just everything's such a tight fit in here in general. We're gonna have to go through and tighten up all clamps, but like I said, I'm not concerned about that just yet. So another thing that we do know though is that with the new intake pipe installed, the car starts to run leaner, and that's exactly what we wanted to do. And it's going to be a lot more accurate now that we don't have a ton of exhaust leaks. So on our prior setup, we had tons of exhaust leaks here, and any exhaust leak that's close to the O2 sensor before or after is enough to cause it to read lean. So okay, so I'm going to fire this up. I know it's going to run like crap. Let's see here. So usually cold start is usually okay, and you can see that the idle's kind of dancing around here. Giving it throttle, it should actually just stall. Yeah, and that's exactly what we want. So we actually want it to run like crap. So now this tells me that the intake itself is now finally doing something, and it's running a lot weirder again, like it's supposed to be. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna let it run till it warms up, and then we're gonna plug in our laptop, take a look at it with the software to see what the car is actually doing. All right, so we're seeing a 125. It's adding 25% fuel. So I did the quick math here between 2.5, which is the old intake pipe size, and the 3-inch, which gives us an 18% difference. Now I think that's going to be close enough. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and flash this on. and we're gonna test it out again. So okay, so we're a couple flashes in, and I think we're doing okay. There's a little bit more that I need to play with, but it is significantly better than where we started. The big thing though is that I can rev it up now, and we're not maxing out the MAF voltages anymore. Again, we're not into boost at all, but free revving it looks like we've got to 3.7. So we've got a little bit of room for boost there, and I think we should be all right. Then the next step is going to be installing the wideband, and then we're gonna start dialing in the MAF table. Now we have to do all this before we can even install the injectors, because we don't want that many variables. But like I said, again, the values look pretty good for the most part. Trims could be just a hair high, but like I said, it's well within the plus or minus 10 that I like to shoot for. So I think we're good here. So at this point, really, it's just a matter of driving and collecting data. That way we can kind of get it all dialed in. And then as far as everything else goes, we have the load situated pretty good here, and I think revving it up doesn't really exceed the load target here. So these numbers are adjustable. I can increase or decrease them. All right, so as you guys saw, Andrew predominantly got all the wiring done for the wideband. I found this connector that's in here that actually has power and ground. I don't know what it's for, but we're gonna use it temporarily for now. So I'm gonna just kind of crimp on ends on it really quick and just jam it in there. That way we can just have a working wideband. And then we can actually see what our AFRs look like under boost. All right, I've got to figure out how to fix this a little bit better, but it'll do for now. It's crazy because even right there I can actually see it like quite perfectly. Yeah, that's actually just like the right angle for it. All right. All right, so we got it off of jack stands. I'm gonna go ahead and move it over to the other side. This tire's a little bit low and they don't look that good. So I don't know the age of them, or I don't know nothing about it. So we are gonna have to check, because I have had a few cars over the years had the tires explode on the dyno, which is never, it's not that scary when they blow up on the dyno, when the tire explodes on the dyno, but it makes it really, really hard to get off the dyno, and that's what I'm hoping to avoid here. All right, so now that we got it together, I'm just gonna take it around the block really quick, just get it going. I'm not too comfortable with it because basically all the tires are dry rotted, but I'm just gonna take it around the block just to see how it runs, and I'll go ahead and park it, and then of course, as usual, I will let the owner know and they can figure out what they want to do. All right, so as you can see, there's a ton of fluid down here. The good news is that it didn't explode. So the bad news is that the reservoir has a crack in it right here. I'm assuming that it's been dry rotted or something like that, but the brakes felt really weird after that pull, and then I just slowed it down, and here we are. All right, straight up don't suggest this, but we bent the brake master cylinder back into place for the reservoir, so it is a little low on brake fluid probably, but I wanted to, yeah, brakes are kind of sus, so I want to get just like one decent pull in here really quick, and I'm going to try to do that with one hand, just so I get a clip of it, just to help out and appease the owner a little bit here. But let's see here. I mean, this thing is, it's it's moving. It's surprisingly moving. So it definitely went lean up top. I watched it drop off, and it did in fact go lean up top. But unfortunately, he's got some bigger fish to fry here, tires, and now this brake reservoir. And it also needs an e-brake, it seems like.